welcome to Fearless Heart and Mind. My name is Nora Oliver, your host. Today we have someone very special. Jessie Ben-Cosme is the Executive Director of the Council of Social Concern in Woburn. She has been with the agency since 2019 and most recently working as the Director of Early Childhood Education for the Children's Center. Jessie obtained her Master's in Education at the Cambridge College in 2021 and has almost 20 years of experience in the nonprofit field. Being the daughter of immigrant parents of one and one of 9 children, her family relied heavily on government programs to make ends meet. Her past experiences allow her to relate to the clients the agency serves while trying to find different ways to address the needs of the community. During her spare time, Jessie enjoys reading, binge watching TV shows, and most of all, creating memories with her family. So welcome, Jessie. Thank you for being here. So tell me a little bit about growing up as a child. You had some personal trauma that you had to deal with that really changed the way you view the world. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. Well, thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be here and be able to share my past experiences and hopes that, people can understand that they're not alone in situations. So I, shared some experiences with you that I faced in the past, but I tell people I'm a walking cliche. I am literally the abuse as a child, every form of abuse that there was. Come from poverty-stricken neighborhood. I was a teen parent. We have substance and, misuse in my family as well. So I am literally everything as a teenager.
You've seen it all.
I've seen it all.
Anything someone may be possibly struggling with, that can't be that easy, right? So dealing with all that you have gone through, right? You were a child, I would say, right? A young child. What is it? What was going through your mind while you were going through all that?
I think that as a child, understanding children and their development, I believe that you cope and you just, in a way that is not healthy, right? Children start acting out. So I did it. There was, I wasn't promiscuous, but I engaged in sexual activity at a very young age. I also drank as a child. Every weekend. I started drinking when I was 12. By the time I was 14, it was every weekend. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to escape from something. I just don't think I made the connection on what I was escaping from at that time.
Right.
So during that time as well, I've had family members who have dealt with mental health and mental illness. I had one very close family member who hid suicide notes that I found when I was 12.
That must have been so hard for you.
It put me in a state of despair because I didn't know if I was going to come home and find this person gone. Wow. And I didn't know who I could turn to. So I ran to my older sister and I said, look what I found,
It must have been terrifying. Wow.
And she read them and was like, I can't,
How do you process that as a child? These are some of the, this was an adult who wrote the note, and if you're receiving something from an adult, such as that letter, what do you do as a child?
And I did nothing except for go every day to where this was hidden and look to see if they were still there. Wow. I couldn't turn to any other adults because I didn't want to get in trouble for spying or for snooping. This was in someone else's bedroom, in someone's private room, and I didn't want them to know that I was looking
right, that you
around.
had seen that note and that this could potentially happen.
So every day I went looking, and every day that they were there, I was
relieved.
Well, yes and no, because to me, if they were still there, then that person still had that thought in their mind. So I just remember going every day, and then one day finally it not being there.
Oh, wow.
And letting out a sigh of relief, like,
Wow.
I can't remember how old I was when it wasn't there, but I remember that I was 12 because we had just moved into this apartment. So I remember the age that I moved in. I remember, which bedroom it was in and which drawer it was in. And I remember thinking, I went to my older sister. I'm the second oldest. The kids are younger. I can't go to any of them. They don't understand.
You don't want them traumatized as well.
Exactly. So I held that. And to this day, that person that has no idea I found those notes. Now, years later, the person was able to share, not the fact that she wrote those notes, but the fact that there was a time in her life that she felt, desperate and despair. And it was because financially she was in a hole that she felt she couldn't dig herself out of. And she didn't know what to do. So it's like, okay, there was a reasoning behind that, and that just goes to show you in situations that people are in that they're like, I don't know what to do. If I can't put food on the table and feed my children, if I can't, pay these bills and keep the shelter over our head, or make sure the heat stays on, the electricity stays on, it puts someone in a state.
It does put them in a difficult, in a not so great mental state. But, sometimes when someone is going through difficult times, they don't think about the bigger impact it would make if they weren't there.
Right.
And it sounds like, maybe that was the case here. Like, he or she may have, did you ever discuss and later on
And that was in the notes too, in one of them. Because they were addressed to different family members. And it was, when it was addressed to one of the other adults in the family, it was like, well, everybody likes you better than they like me anyway. So it's probably better that I just go. And that was, didn't realize that that was the feeling that we were portraying to this person, that we don't like you and we don't want you as part of this family or whatever else, because that would never be true. So it was those kinds of situations. That was the right that my family dealt with and I dealt with personally. Years later, fast forward about 8 years later, one of my other family members attempted suicide. We got the call. They're in the hospital. This is what they did. We've had to pump their stomach. You need to come. And
wow.
not
that must
understanding.
have been difficult for you, right? Because, you had already experienced something similar when you were younger, and now you're having to deal with that again. Like, how did that affect you, or did it affect you mentally?
At that point in time, at this point I'm 19, 20 years old. I'm dealing with my own things, and I'm like, okay, what possibly could have made this person do this? We didn't have such a close relationship. We confided in each other and things, here and there, but I couldn't understand why, what was happening,
why they were doing it.
At that time, and it was hard to think that I could lose this person. So it was kind of brushed off as, well, she's not lucky in love. She's having some financial difficulties. If we can just solve these issues for her, then that will disappear. And that wasn't the underlying issue, So fast forward, right? So now I'm at a point where I'm in my 30s. So early 30s, I get another phone call. Another person in my family has attempted suicide. in
Oh,
the
wow.
hospital.
Okay.
And this one is
That's-
worse.
Wow.
So this family member had to be hospitalized past the 72 hours.
Oh,
Liver damage from the amount
Wow.
of Tylenol that
wow.
was taken. And just, we saw the change. The way it was treated by some people was, she is crazy. That is what has happened. She has gone from this beautiful, vibrant teenager to this person who hides, and she's just gone crazy. And that's how she was treated.
Oh, wow.
So at that point was when I started educating myself
Good.
on mental illness and how people cope with trauma. And sometimes there's a difference, right? Because I believe that, for some people, it's coping with trauma that they've dealt with in their lives, where then, they have been in situations where they either feel like they're insignificant, they're not enough, and they've been told that or made to feel like that
Right.
by somebody
that's
else.
normally the case. They don't feel like themselves. They're not happy with, the way they're being treated or some of the results, career, financial
Yep.
issues and so on.
And then there's also like a chemical imbalance situation that's happening. And in this situation, that was some of the difference between the other two, was here there's also a need for treatment past the, counseling, therapy.
Different kind of treatment.
Yes. There's some psychiatry that is involved here and some diagnosing that was needed.
Right.
So that person has not necessarily surpassed that, but she's now very vocal on her needs and where she's at and her treatment and what she needs from people in order to be able to not get to that point.
Right.
as
So
well.
what did she end up, what kind of treatment did she start with and how is she doing now?
So we could say it's been 8 years since it happened. And every day every day she wakes up and wonders like, am I gonna be depressed today? Am I gonna be sad today? Am I gonna, or is today gonna be a good day? Is there gonna be one thing that one person says to me that's going to ruin my
Affect
day?
her, trigger. Yeah.
She does therapy, so she has her telehealth with her therapist every
Good.
week.
Good.
But she's very vocal about her medications and the fact that she was diagnosed with bipolar and borderline personality disorder
Okay.
as well. So she has
Okay, yeah.
medication
those
that
are,
helps her.
yeah, those are some really two difficult mental illnesses to deal with, especially at a young age.
And she was misdiagnosed as
Oh.
a child. So in her teens, when she went, they weren't treating her correctly. So I remember her being excited actually when she was diagnosed because she said there's a reason, and now I have an explanation. I haven't felt like myself for all of these years, and now I have. And I remember her telling me, and I was like, you've been misdiagnosed this whole time? Because I was wondering why something wasn't working.
Right.
Every day,
you didn't see much of an improvement.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, now there is that.
Right, and that
Diagnosis.
tends to happen. Sometimes a lot of people don't realize, am I just struggling with anxiety? Is this depression? Or they just don't seem to be able to identify what's going on with them, and so that can be very difficult. And that's why it's very important to get professional help to really get to the root cause of what's really going on, what's making you feel the way that you do feel. Right.
Exactly.
So for your family members, would you say it seems like they all had different situations going on to get them to that difficult moment where they're just like, you know what, I give up, I can't do this anymore. So have you seen improvement, meaning, they're getting therapy, maybe medications and things like that, where, they've made progress?
Yes and no. Yes, and I would say I saw a full improvement in that first case with the notes with that family member.
Okay.
The second one, it's a roller coaster, unfortunately. There's moments where I also believe that she might need more. She might need a diagnosis. And I think full-blown adult, right? Full-grown adult can't do it. We can't do it for them necessarily.
Right.
They have to be able to seek the help themselves.
Is he or she getting professional help?
No.
Okay, so she's or he is trying to get help on their own or trying to improve.
It becomes a situation where then there's some substance misuse. I won't say necessarily abuse, but there's some substance misuse. And that's when we know that there's, something going on. And when we intervene as a family, then it becomes like, I don't know why I'm doing this. And it's been a big, long cycle of where we try to say, okay, we now may need to get professionals involved.
Right.
There
And
might-
this is a good point to really bring up, that if you are struggling with just about anything in your life, especially a mental illness, if a family member or a friend, somebody that truly cares about you, is coming to you and bringing up a situation or something that doesn't sound right, they're coming to you and letting you know, hey, I think this may be a problem, maybe you should take a look at it. It may be a good idea for you to evaluate your life and to make sure that you are not facing some sort of mental illness. And it's great to get opinions from others, but it's very important to make that decision for yourself. Take a look at, am I waking up happy every day? Am I having difficulties most of my days? Am I waking up and am sad every day for many days? That could be a sign of a mental illness. And again, it is not a sign of weakness. It just means that you should probably take a look at your life and see where you may need to make some adjustments and changes. And don't be afraid to get professional help. It is very important, the moment you realize that something is off, to seek help. The faster and sooner you do it, the better you will get, and the faster you'll get to that end of the depression, anxiety, or whatever you may be facing. So going back with dealing with trauma, I know from personal experience, right, that you can't, it's not a great feeling to have. Obviously, it affects your emotions, especially if you're a child and you see other adults going through this difficulty. It just doesn't bring up like a great positive future vibes, right?
Right.
You're now thinking, wow, okay, like, how am I supposed to cope with life? How am I supposed to be happy? How am I supposed to deal with and achieve these dreams that I have as a person, as my own person, right? So how did you feel growing up and having gone through multiple situations where it's pretty dramatic, traumatic for you, right? That you're facing all these difficulties and now you have to make decisions for yourself. And, how did you deal with when you had a difficult situation to face in your life? Like, what is it that came to your mind?
I believe that as growing up and becoming a young adult, I turned not necessarily to religion, but to spirituality. So finding myself in a situation where I was in a domestic violent relationship and I didn't have a support network that was like, let me get you out. I was blamed for being in the situation. And I remember times where I was alone, especially in my car, and I used to say, God, please don't leave me here. Like, I know I'm not strong enough yet, but could you please get me there, because I don't want to stay. And just begging, and then realizing that one day I was at that point where I was like, I have the strength to go. And when you're going through it, you don't realize it. So sometimes it's when you reflect on the situation and you're like, I forgot that every day I used to beg to please be out of this situation, and now I am. It's having this faith that's bigger than yourself and bigger than anything.
Something to believe on, to, help you and maybe guide you to something better. So I think that's really helpful. I know a lot of people go to religion when they're having difficulties, and it does help them, right? There's a lot in the Bible that, it's mostly how to deal with difficult situations, but it's more so there is something better in your life. Better is coming, right? You're going to improve, just keep hoping. It gives you that hope, right? So that you're still have those dreams and to stay strong and, kind of motivate you, which is what could help just about anyone. So it sounds like you told yourself, you know what, I believe in this. Please help me. Please guide me. Please get me out of this difficult situation. I can't deal with this anymore, and I want something better. So it sounds almost like you spoke to yourself. You spoke with yourself, and you said, no, I am not dealing with this. I'm going to make that change. Please help me, help myself get stronger, help myself get past this difficult time. I'm not facing this. I won't allow this in my life. I'm going to move past it. So I know I'm repeating myself here. But
I think that it takes all of that for someone who doesn't feel strong enough, for someone who feels weak and feels desperate. Another thing that helped as a teenager, I had a counselor.
That's good.
After I was pregnant with my son. I got pregnant at 15. I gave birth at 16 years old.
Yes, that's difficult.
And I had a counselor who came to my house every week and just sat and talked with me and got to know me as a person. And I remember being heartbroken when I graduated this counseling program, but it was so helpful. And I actually, tell people, I said, that agency that she came from probably saved my life, because I didn't know. I knew school achievement was never hard for me. I was like the complete opposite ends. I was an honor roll student, and then I was doing these things on the other side where it was just, I was still acting out because I had all of these different experiences that no one ever asked, how do you feel about that?
Right.
What did this do to you? I had adults in my life who told me how I should feel, how I should act, what I should say, what I shouldn't say, when to speak, when not to speak, all of that. And I was
You had no control of your life, your emotions, what you could do. You were just there to please others, to do things for others, whatever you were expected, right?
Exactly.
And that can be difficult. I mean, that alone can affect your mental health. And, not even to mention all the other things you've faced, which sounds like very difficult major events in your life that, that alone will make it difficult to deal with your mental health. So what would you recommend that one do when facing such events?
I think that turning to something, it doesn't have to be religion, but turning to someone to help guide you. You have to cope in healthy ways. And I think a lot of us who deal with trauma at a young age, like I said, start coping in unhealthy ways and continue that route because we don't learn any better, unfortunately. And getting that strength has to come from somewhere. You have to dig deep. You have to.
So you're saying that it has to start with you wanting the change, you accepting that you were going through a difficult time and wanting to move from that point. Okay, yes, I'm sad a lot of the times. I'm sad and I don't want to feel this way. So, turn into something that you believe in, like you said. I love that idea. If it's religion, if it's a sport, if it's a particular person that you can follow and talk to, or just talking to yourself. That's okay too, but you have to find something that you find joy, that brings happiness to you, that can be an ongoing, not just a one-time thing. So playing a sport you enjoy with a group of others, right, on a weekly basis, that can bring a lot of joy. So you're active, but you're also not just physically active, you're mentally active, and you're now
socially active too.
Right.
Like, you are talking to other people. You're not stuck in your head anymore. Just think about it. Having a normal conversation with somebody about anything, the thoughts aren't really going in your head. And just being able to feel good, have a feel good conversation with somebody, you keep that feel good energy in. It lasts for a while.
Right.
I love YouTube when it comes for affirmations and just Googling, I'm very big on astrology too, and how planets affect us and affect our moods. And realizing, it might not be me. It might just be the way these planets are aligned today affecting my mood. And I can get past that. They're not going to stay in that position. I can get past this.
Right.
And just realizing that there is that strength within you. There's that love there. You have to have that self-love. And I'm not one to say every day I love myself when I get up out of bed.
We have different kind of days.
Exactly.
I'm not happy every single day, all day. There's events that happen. You have to figure out how to handle the different situations that you have to deal with. But I love what you said. Like, you have to really first realize what it is that you're going through, accept what you're facing, and talk to others. Like you said, Jessie, go on YouTube and Google motivation speeches, or Google how to help yourself, somebody dealing with anxiety or a particular situation. I mean, these days, living in 2022, there are so many ways that you could help yourself. Find a motivational speaker, find a show, find a friend, or a particular business that you're very much into, or a sport, maybe create your own something that you enjoy. It doesn't have to be something that exists already, but the point here is you have to be that person to start making that change for yourself. You can get all the help and advice from anyone that's in your life, but if you're not willing to make that change yourself, if you're not going to do the work, nobody can help you. So start with yourself. And yes, obviously you're here, you've gone through all these difficult times, you've managed to go through and deal with each one and still be here. And, I see you smiling, I see you helping others, and those are all great things to go through, right? So if you don't mind me asking you, what do you do currently? Like, what does your job entail?
So, Executive Director, Council of Social Concern. We have a food pantry. We have our children's center. We help all of the individuals we help are all low to moderate income families. Our food pantry helps address food insecurity. Our child care center helps address, the high cost of child care that exists and make that affordable through state funding. Being able to address those different types of needs, right? They're all encompassing. But there are things that I dealt with as a child, and as an adult. My child, I had to have him on a voucher, government funding, in order to be able to afford childcare. So being able to provide that help in just
to other families now, similar the way that you were helped
exactly
when you needed it.
It feels a little full circle. I realized I've done a little bit of time in private childcare, and I've done a lot of time in nonprofit. And the reason why I've done a little bit of time in private childcare was because I just absolutely love the mission of being able to help others. It's something that comes, what I feel comes just from inside me. Wanting
to help, make a difference. I I think that's amazing. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like it makes such a big difference in your life that you get to see these families struggling, and now you're able to help them and put a smile on their face that they don't have to go through all these difficulties. You're going to guide them and help them until they can get the support or support themselves, right?
Yes. So what happens is, we have directors for each program, but in talking to them, especially when it comes to the food pantry and hearing stories of clients and in other ways that they're still struggling. Yes, we can find them resources, but now what I'm trying to do is within our agency, see how we can grow those resources for ourselves too, and be able to expand the programs and expand the help that we offer. We were able to start a new program where we can help with shelter. So we can help with, utility, pass-through utility bill pay, have clients avoid shut-off. We're not paying bills for people, and we taking that off of their plate, but that anxiety and that just fear when you have a notice that say it's going to cut off or you're going to get evicted, and if we can help ease that even once for you, like, we want to be able to do that. So we've just started a program that was like that, and it was pretty successful. So we want to be able to continue it because there is more need out there than
absolutely. It
just
feels like it's never enough, right?
It's never enough.
The more others look up to ways to make donations or help with programs as such, I know people who have needed the help, and it's made a big impact. I mean, yes, of course, there's always someone that's trying to abuse the system and, go through it instead of allowing others that truly need the help get that. But I think they're great programs, and anyone that, like, imagine you said 15 or 16 when you had your first child. How are you supposed to go to school and support a child and yourself? Like, that situations like that, you need to be able to turn to someone and help you and guide you financially a little bit, or childcare, or whatever it is, right?
Right.
It's there, and we need to be able to do that for each other. Not everybody is raised with parents or financial freedom. There are different people that are facing different difficulties in their life. So it's important to, if you're struggling, it's important for me to be able to help you if I can obviously help you, or things like that. So we're all human beings, and we all are facing the same life, just with different circumstances and events. So I love what you're doing now. Obviously, it makes me happy. There are people like you.
Thank you.
You've faced all these different challenges in your life, and you are now in a good, comfortable place where your son is older and you're able to give back. So how does it make you feel, like, having to now go through all this, and you're in a good place to make a difference?
So I wake up every day, Monday through Friday usually, because weekends I sleep in. But Monday through Fridays, I wake up, and the first thing that I try to say is, not only thank you for giving me another day, but thank you for the opportunity to be able to, go to work and be able to carry out this mission for this agency and for all the people that work there and want to be able to help the clients that we serve. I just say, if there's new ways, I ask if there's new ways that I can help or opportunities, please guide me in those directions so that we can be able to grow and continue. We're not going to help millions, but it's just such a feeling when you're
every
able to
little help makes a difference.
It makes such a difference.
Every little thing, right? So how can somebody find you if, let's say, there is a corporation that really wants to make a donation? How can they find you?
So there's a link on our website to donate. We have our active campaigns on there, as well as just like a general donation that they can just donate to.
What's the
agency.
Website, or where can they go?
www.socialconcern.org.
Okay, I think that's great. So, if you're watching this and you're looking to make a difference and really help others, obviously this is they have some great programs here that they can really use your help. So you helping them could really help a lot of many other families. So please go to the website and take a look at, even $1, $500, whatever you can donate, especially during the holidays, is a great help. We can all make a difference. And if you feel that, you have financial freedom and you want to make a change in whatever way, this is a great opportunity for you to do whatever you can. And, I promise you'll feel much better than not doing something about it. So I think, obviously I really do appreciate you
Thank you.
having this kind of position that you're in to help others, and I do my best to help anywhere that I can. Like this morning I'm watching all these police officers and construction crews. They're working in a very cold weather early in the morning, and all I could think was, I gotta run to the store, I gotta buy these heating pads and drive back over there and be like, here, you're warmer at least. Some of them didn't even have gloves, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm cold in my car.
Right.
I couldn't imagine, but every little thing helps. So whatever you can give back.
And just imagine like how they felt that someone actually saw that and thought of that.
It makes a difference. I saw their faces, their freezing hands, and I think the appreciation that, oh, I'm a police officer, I'm standing here for hours in the cold, and yesterday it was raining, and to have someone go there and offer, it's not that much of a gesture. Sometimes, in the summer days, I'll pass a cold bottle of water. I tell my kids, let's drive around and see what's going on the street and help them out, or if we're just driving around, make a difference.
I think actions like that though can also change like someone else's thinking, because if someone could take that like, wow, someone really thought about me in that way, and then take that and then think about somebody else in that way.
Absolutely. You never know who's facing what. You could be a police officer, you have a great career, but maybe they're struggling at home. Maybe they're just not happy with their life. And even a bottle of water could put a smile on their face and feel like, wow, others care.
Yep.
I'm needed, I'm respected. It's a small gesture, but it goes a long way. So imagine if a lot of us do those small gestures everywhere that we go. Can you imagine what a change that would be?
It's
Especially in the mental health, just that alone.
mm-hmm.
It's a big change.
Someone cares about me, and then you learn how to care about others, because you see that's a different way of somebody treating you. It's like, wow, now I can take that model, that example,
and pass it on to others as well. I love that. So Jessie, thank you so much for being here and answering all our questions. I appreciate it. And if you are watching again, please do go to their website, and whatever you can help with, I do appreciate that. And again, thank you for watching Fearless Heart and Mind. I'm Nora Oliver, your host. We'll see you next time.